Recording in progress.
What up, fam? What's good? What's good? Welcome to another episode of the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Special shout out to all of our Facebook Live, Twitter Live, and YouTube Live viewers out there. Y'all can check us out there right now. Just go to our platforms over there. You can also follow us on social media on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. I'm your boy Trey Fraser, and I got my brother back. The homie, yours truly, Maestro Styles, is back in the building after a week off. My brother, was good? What's popping, man? Missed you last week.
Yeah, man. It's been a little crazy on my side. It still is crazy. I'll tell you about it offline, but
yeah,
it still is crazy. But I'm here.
No doubt. Yeah, I was looking forward to recapping the finals last week, man. You was dead on, bro. I mean, I gotta, I gotta give the credit where it's due, man. You called it in 6, bro. You called it in 6, man.
Yeah, man. I'll say briefly. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they'll be back, but just ain't their time yet.
Yeah. Well, I had him in 7. I thought Tatum would explode in Game 6, and it didn't work out, man. I mean, it's crazy. We were on a 4-way, 5-way call while the beginning of the game was going on, and it went from Boston being up 10 to Golden State being up by 10, somewhere around there, and I mean they just kind of took off from that point on. I mean the Celtics tried to make it a game at the end of the third. I think they cut it to 8, but it was just too much. I mean, I'll say this in that particular game. I think Wiggins had a really good game, along with Draymond Green, finally stepping up in the series. And, and what can you say about Steph, man? That's the dude right now. I mean, we got to talk about Steph,
Yeah, Steph is the man. And for all those wondering, he's in my top 10 of all time. Now, he's 10. I think he got to be around 10. I don't know if I could, but I don't know if it's more than 9 people better than Steph Curry all time now.
Time. Well, greatest shooter ever, for certain, right?
Yeah, for certain.
Hands down. I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm not, and quite frankly, I haven't even thought about who's my top 10 all time. I haven't really jotted down a list yet. Haven't really, put it to mind yet. Right. But, I'll say this. I've heard a lot of Larry Bird being taken out of the top 10 and Steph being put in people's top 10s. I've heard that quite a lot.
I've heard that too. I mean, look, man, I'll say this. I haven't compiled the list, but I am going to say, without having compiled the list, 4 championships and the best shooter that we've ever seen, revolutionized the game. He's in my top 10, bro. He just
2 MVPs, 2 league MVPs,
2 MVPs,
Finals MVP. He's got the hardware. I mean, you compare it to anybody else out there, like the Kobe's, the Duncans, and I'm just talking about hardware. I'm talking about rings, MVPs, Finals MVPs. You can stack Steph with a lot of those cats that we talk about. That's top 10. LeBron, MJ, Kareem, Bill Russell. You can put Steph in that kind of conversation when it comes to the hardware. So I'm with you there. I think this is gonna be a dope show today, man. We got a special guest coming on in a couple minutes. His brother goes by the name of Damian Adams. He's got a couple of podcasts that he's working on right now. New Orleans native, likes to talk sports, a Saints fan, Pelicans fan, and all that good stuff. So in about a minute, he's going to come on and, chop it up with us, talk about the platforms that he's got going on and a few other things. So, he'll be on in a minute.
Well, while we waiting for him, let me just say, free Brittney Griner.
Yes, sir.
We still on that. We still on that energy. I saw like some recent news. I haven't got to read the recent news, but there was some recent news that came out yesterday about it. Did you get?
Yes. Yes. She has a court date or a court hearing on July 1st, which is this Friday coming up. Mm-hmm. Possible 10-year sentence if found guilty of what they're trying to charge her with, which I'm kind of confused because I thought months ago, they admitted that they were in the wrong.
They made a mistake.
That they made a mistake. Right. Yeah. So I'm just confused now. So y'all rescinding the mistake now, and now y'all possibly looking to charge her? Like, something about it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't pretend to have all the details. I should probably be responsible and read up on it, and I put it on my to-do list. I would definitely put it on my to-do list because this has gone on a little too far for me to not be educated about it.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, we still screaming free Brittney Griner till she free.
Yeah, hashtag free Brittney Griner, no question about it. What's the girl name that just got hired by ESPN? Oh, Angela Rye. Shout out Angela Rye. She did a piece with Brittney Griner's wife a few weeks ago talking about her interactions with Brittney while, she's, still over in Russia, on lockdown and everything. I thought the interview was, kind of compelling, kind of interesting. Don't remember much else about it per se, except Angela Rye was, doing the interview with her, and she talked about just some of her interactions while she's been locked up. So, prayers to her too. Prayers to Brittney Griner's wife, sure. And to Brittney Griner's family, as they just want to see their girl come home. Everybody want to see her come home.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, got to be tough. I mean, yeah, it's certainly, obviously tough on Brittney Griner, but yeah, for sure tough on the family as well. So yeah, I agree. Thoughts and prayers.
No doubt. Let me get into the Facebook Live chat here real quick. Shout out Mocha Bella. Hashtag Brittney Griner all day long. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. Ivan Mont, welcome to the Facebook Live chat. Appreciate you tuning in.
What's happening?
No doubt, man. Yeah, I can't wait to get into some of this NBA stuff here. And looks like we got our boy coming in just in a few seconds here. Certainly want to talk about the Pelicans and their, in their playoff run just a few months ago. We got the homie right here right now. Want to get you a proper introduction, my man. This is the homie Damian Adams, host of The Real Deal with Damian Adams podcast. He's also co-host of another podcast called the 3rd and 3 podcast. You can check those platforms out on all your streaming platforms. And my brother, welcome, man. Thanks for joining us for a few minutes, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. Thank you so much for having me on. Truly looking forward to it. And I see that you guys are already, midway through trying to get into it. So I just want to join the good conversation.
Absolutely. Man.
Yeah, I was just saying, man, I definitely see your grind on Instagram. So salute to, from a fellow podcaster to another. I definitely see your grind, and we salute that. So, with that being said, we could definitely get into some sports talk.
But first, let's, your journey. I want to get into that a little bit. How you got into sports podcasting. How did you, get started, and all the people that you've run across with. Tell us about the journey.
Well, as most sports fans, I had sports dreams growing up, right? We all want to be either a football player, basketball player, baseball, and my sport was basketball, right? I was a hooper, still a hooper to this day. I'm still, I'm okay. I can get you 20 points in the rec league game, but when it comes to, that higher level, that Kevin Durant, LeBron James, that level, I realized I wasn't there in high school. So for me, it was like, how can I stay connected to sports in some type of way? And at first, I was like, man, maybe I should be a sports announcer. You know, everybody who's in this business looked up to Stuart Scott. So I would practice my catchphrases and doing highlights. My mom still has video of me practicing as if I was a Sports Center anchor. Like I had a little Nokia phone at the time, and my ringer was the Sports Center theme song, the da-da-da, da-da-da.
Yeah.
So I would play it, and I would act like I was doing highlights. And at that time, we had the New Orleans Hornets before there was the Pelicans, and I would practice doing Chris Paul highlights and act like I was doing that. And that's what I wanted to go to school for. Now, when I first went to school, I partied a little too much, did a little too much non-school when I was in school. So
it happens, man. It happens, bro.
Definitely, it happens. When you're that age, you know, your priorities aren't straight usually, and mine definitely weren't at 18. So after my first semester, I tried to walk on and play ball, and that didn't work out. And so I ended up joining the military, going to the Navy. And while I was in the Navy is when I actually got to go back into school. One of the reasons I joined is that they were going to pay for my education. So I got to go back to school and go to school for journalism and get more experience in it. And once I got out, I wanted to find a path back into it. And that's when I found podcasting. I remember being at work one day, listening to the His and Hers podcast with Michael Smith and Jamel Hill, and thinking like, I can do this. I might not be able to do it on their level. Of course, they're, you know, two of the best to do it. But I was thinking, I can do this. Now, at the time, literally at work, I was emailing a friend, and we were going back and forth arguing about sports all day, right? Not doing our job, just going back and forth, arguing about sports. And I was like, we should start a podcast. We should do this. So we started one that was called Talking Junk Sports that we started. And eventually, I saw that this was my passion. He liked talking sports, but he didn't like the other side of it. You mentioned the grind on Instagram, the grind of finding guests, the grind of trying to get people to hear you out and listen to you and respect what you have to say, even though you're not on a big platform like an ESPN or Fox Sports or whoever the big platforms are that most people watch when they're looking for their sports content. So for me, I embraced that grind, continue to go forward with it. And eventually that's when I started on social media with it. And now it's led to this just passion that I'm doing full time now, where I'm sports writing and covering sports. And I've been lucky enough to cover the NBA. Right now I'm covering the WNBA. I'm covering the Phoenix Mercury. Went to the game last night.
That's what's up.
And I appreciate it. And I've been able to really turn this into something that I truly love. And, you know, mention some of the people along the way, like when you're in this game or in this field, it's going to be down points for sure, where you're just like, is it worth it? Is all this grind worth it? You know, maybe you're not getting the numbers that you want. And that's one thing I always tell people, don't get attached to numbers, get attached to the content. Get attached to what you're actually doing. Those numbers or the right results will come eventually, but don't get attached to it. Like the story I always tell people, I remember when, because I'm a big boxing guy as well. And I did a YouTube video after Adrian Broner lost to Manny Pacquiao. The video went crazy. And I thought, this is it. Like, this is this is my moment. I'm quitting my day job. This is it. I'm about to take off. And it didn't go off like that. Like after that video, everything else kind of plateaued. Yeah. So you have to be attached to the content and not the numbers if you truly want to do this for a living.
Yeah. I think we had our little moment like that recently too, where we was getting a lot of love, and you know, we was kind of texting each other back and forth like, "Yo, we going crazy right now." And next week it went right back to normal.
Yep. Slap you right back to reality. Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So you covering the Phoenix Mercury. Tell me about your I guess you're obviously aware of the whole Brittney Griner situation. Tell me about that. What's the energy like over there? How you feeling about the situation?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird situation to be covering a team when there's this big elephant in the room. Like, you know, this team would be much better if their best player was here. And that's something that you can't really avoid. You try to just go about it and talk about that particular game or this particular, you know, series or whatever's going on at the time. But you just can't avoid it. It's always right there. If they lose a game, like, dang, if Brittney was here, maybe they win that game. Maybe they get that block. Maybe Brittney hits that game-winning shot that they need. Because she is the best player. And it's also just as from a human standpoint, I've gotten to know her a little bit. She's really cool, really down to earth chick, and like the fact that she's not here, it's just you definitely could tell it weighed on the team. And there's maybe there's a weight being lifted just as them using basketball as an escape, but there definitely is that just shadow over the team of, dang, our best player isn't here, our sister isn't here, and you can tell that it definitely weighed on them at the beginning of the year. But now they're starting to find a little bit of a groove with this new lineup that they're using. They're going a little bit more small ball, more pace and space.
Yeah.
And maybe they're using that as a way to escape that situation, and they're starting to play well on the court and more aggressive on the court. Maybe that's a little bit of the anger from the situation I think you can find on the court in their defense a little bit lately. So it's definitely something that's there at all times, but the players are trying their best to play through it.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go a little bit of TMZ for a little bit here because a few weeks ago, there was a video that surfaced with Skylar Diggins being upset about something during a middle of a game. I don't know what quarter it was, but the video resulted in her and Diana Taurasi sort of kind of in each other's face. What was that spat all about?
So I was before I was covering the team full time this year. From what I heard, it was just your normal basketball spat. Now that could be also something where they felt that it was the beginning of the season too, so they probably felt that weight even more at that time of Brittney not being there. But it was just your normal, somebody missed a rotation, this player disagreed with this player. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
When you have two players go at it, but they love each other. You can tell just from being around it, like they truly do love each other. They play for each other. When Skylar first got here, I remember asking her about what she was most excited about, and it was like, I'm playing with Taurasi. I'm playing with the GOAT. Like, this is what I'm most excited about. I can't wait. We've already been working out. Like, they have a good relationship, and that's probably why they go at each other like they do. They have the ability to do that, hold each other accountable, and then go back to just playing ball and being friends afterwards.
Okay.
All right, that's the stuff. I'm gonna throw you audible, Damian, since we're finding out that you cover the league, you cover the team, and somewhat the WNBA as a whole. We had this conversation a few weeks ago about who was the Mount Rushmore of the WNBA all time. Do you have a top 4?
Oh, Mount Rushmore. See, that's the thing with Mount Rushmore is, do you go by just the 4 best, or do you go by 4 most impactful? Like, so it just depends on what you're looking at. For me, I definitely got to put Lisa Leslie up there first.
Yeah.
When you look at what she was able to do during her time in the league, those Houston Comets teams, you could take like anybody from those teams, those first few years.
Yep.
They dominated so much. So I would take Cheryl Swoops from those teams. So I'll go Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Diana Taurasi. I do think she's the GOAT of the WNBA for sure. And if I'm gonna go one more person, I'm gonna go Candace Parker. Because I think overall talent, she might be the best of all time. But Diana Taurasi, with her longevity in the league and the fact that she's still playing at a pretty high level, she has her on and off nights now at this stage of her career where it can be inconsistent. But for the most part, she's still the GOAT. So I'll go Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Diana Taurasi, and Candace Parker in my Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
All right. I like that.
Figure it out. Yeah, but I like that it ain't taking long to figure it out. It means you really do this.
Yeah, I like that. I actually have 2 of your 4 on my list. So I got Taurasi and Lisa Leslie. My other 2 was Maya Moore and Cynthia Cooper.
Okay, yeah, I'm not mad. See, Cynthia Cooper right there with Cheryl Swoops. I was trying to decide between those 2.
Right.
As far as that spot. So yeah, I'm definitely not mad at that. And Maya Moore is complicated because she was on a path to be one of the greatest ever, and she still is. Like with what she accomplished, but the fact that she just stopped at that age makes it complicated, right? It's like right in her prime, she just stopped. Yeah, it's like, how do you rank her all time, even though she was so dominant for what she did, especially even pre-WNBA, what she did in college. Her resume is just nuts. I just wish she would have continued to play, but of course you got to do what's best for you. But from a selfish basketball fan standpoint, I wish she would have continued to play just to see how much she could have done in the WNBA.
I agree with that, but when you could free an innocent black man from prison and
for
just
sure.
kind of walk away, from the game. Like you the GOAT just for that. But
Sure.
I just think about when you think about dynasties in the WNBA, we know the Comets are probably the top one because they won 4 straight to start off the league. And then when you look elsewhere in regards to like dynasties, the Lynx won 4 out of 7. I mean, granted they didn't go back to back, but they got 4 out of 7, all with her being the best player on those teams. So for me, it's like, oh, you gotta put Maya Moore right there. But to each his own. Everybody's got their own 4, and I'm not even mad about Cheryl Swoops, Candace Parker, and some of the others who people might feel like belong in that 4.
Nah, I definitely, like I said, I can't argue against it. There's so many great players throughout the history. So yeah, when you think about Maya Moore, she definitely deserves a spot in that conversation. You got Elena Deladon, Brianna Stewart.
I've
Like
heard
there's
that.
so many
Yep.
players, that you can put in that conversation. It's going to just continue to get, even more and more as the league grows and gets better and gets more popular throughout the years. So I just can't wait to see it.
No doubt. No doubt. You got something else, Maestro?
Nah, man, we keep going. We keep it moving. We keep
Okay.
going.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get into NBA, man. But before I get to your team though, because we got to talk about some stuff. Some guys are opting into contracts, opting out. I think the biggest move today was John Wall and the Rockets parting ways. With the buyout of the contract, and now he's potentially going to sign with the Clippers come Thursday when free agency opens up. Your thoughts on that move?
My first thought was, why did it take the Rockets this long? Why not buy him out last year? Like, you just a whole year of this man's career gone because you were trying to get something that wasn't there. Like there was no buzz about somebody trying to trade for his contract at that time. So
Right.
why not buy him out and just get rid of that situation? Why have that over your team the whole year with all these young players? And the whole thing about John Wall, is he going to come back? Is he not? We're just going to leave him over there and pay him $40+ million. I'm not mad at him. $40+ million. To just chill over there. That didn't make any sense from the organizational standpoint from Houston. But I love the move for the Clippers. I think having a point guard who can score and facilitate the way John Wall can, and I think because of the last few years, people have forgotten how good John Wall was. Right. Now, I don't expect him to be 2017, 2018 John Wall pre, the Achilles and the ACL injury, but he still got some juice in that tank. He showed that the year before last when he did play a little bit for Houston. He still has some juice in that tank, and he's going to be the third option. So as the third option on that team, I think it's a perfect move, low risk, high reward.
Yep.
I think the Clippers definitely did the right thing picking him up. The only question is for Houston, why wait? Why did you wait this long to do it?
Man, I mean, I wish he could have went back to the Wizards, but I know how that don't really make sense as far as the Wizards is the collapsing, collapse. They got a lot of work to do right now, and it seemed like all they seem to be doing is getting rid of assets outside of the asset that they should have got rid of a long time ago and got some value for. So it makes sense for John Wall to go ahead and go to the Clippers, and quite honestly, with him at point guard, if Kawhi is healthy with PG. They look good in the West, man. I mean, I'm not gonna go as far as to make no predictions, but they look real good in the West with him at point guard. And honestly, that's probably the thing that they was lacking last year. So that's a great move for the Clippers if emphatically they do that on Thursday, which they probably are, like all the rumors suggest. So yeah, I agree with that 100%. I guess the other one to talk about is Kyrie opting in. And I'm a kind of add some messiness to the conversation with Stephen A's back and forth, man. So I just want to know your thoughts about that. A, about him opting in, and B, about I want to know your opinion on Stephen A versus Kyrie Irving. What is this?
Okay, so yeah, first on him opting in, I think that was the best option for him. He probably explored the market and saw that teams are worried about the lack of reliability that they perceive from Kyrie Irving. So their teams weren't lined up to give him 4 or 5 year contracts, right? Now with the Stephen A part of it, Stephen A has some points when it comes to Kyrie Irving, right? Now the way he delivers that correct? No, but that's also how Stephen A. became Stephen A. by delivering his points in the way that he delivers them, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I see why Stephen A. has his reservations about Kyrie, because Kyrie does do some things that can rub you the wrong way, especially sometimes when he goes on his little rants where he tries to put himself above others by acting like he's so just conscious. He's just so like above the normalcy of what most people are thinking about, in which he can be. He might be that, but there's a way to deliver that message without putting yourself above everybody else. And I think Kyrie does that sometimes, especially when he's like, oh, these peons in the media.
Yeah.
And it's like, and for me, it's still hard for me to consider myself part of the media. So I didn't take it personally when he said that. I was like, oh man, he talked about the fool's crazy. And I didn't think about, oh, like that's me.
Yeah.
But but it's something that when he says those type of things, I can see why media members are like, really? And then he's doesn't help when he says things like, oh, I was saying that the earth is flat as a joke, when he's something that people are gonna be like, really? That's what you think? You think the earth is flat? Or just, him having a sage in the arena, he getting rid of the bad energy. He does things that's gonna rub people the wrong way. So with that Stephen A. versus Kyrie thing, there's parts that I did agree with Stephen A. on, as far as Kyrie not wanting to play at times. Like, we can't forget, this year was different. The vaccine situation. I thought the whole rule in New York was whack. The fact that away players who were non-vaccinated could play, and couldn't.
It was stupid. It was a stupid rule.
I wasn't. It's a stupid rule. If it was a rule for everybody, then cool. But the fact that visiting players could play and he couldn't was crazy. So I wasn't mad at Kyrie for not getting a shot, because that's his personal choice, whatever he wants to do. It was a dumb rule on New York's part. Now, the part where I agree with Stephen A. on is Kyrie at times is not reliable. There was a time the year before last where he took off 2 weeks for personal reasons, and then it turns out his birthday was around that time. There's video of him at the party where we jammed it up during this personal time.
Yeah.
That's not a good look, Kyrie. So those moments are where I can agree with Stephen. So I do think that Stephen A. has a point, but the way he puts his point across sometimes just comes across way too rough and way too, like, as black men, we're like, dang, you come to another black man like that in front of everybody, when maybe he could have that conversation with Kyrie in private. So I think that there's points on both sides. I see where Stephen A. is coming from as far as not relying on Kyrie in a big way.
Yeah, I think for me, and I agree with you. I agree with you in this, and that Stephen A. has points and Kyrie has points. I think the issue for me is it seemed like he makes a concerted effort to kind of go above and beyond to slander whatever, or I won't even say slander, to push his point towards Kyrie. I feel like me and Trey talked about this a little while ago when Stephen A. had his first little lash out, and it was just like, bro, why you so upset about this? And I some of it is performing. I get that some of it is performance. That's what he does. But I don't know. It seemed like this is something that he was trying to conjure up for TV looks, for like. And there, part of that is cool, but part of it, I don't know. I think he may have crossed the threshold of entertaining TV to where it seems like, and I don't obviously I don't know Stephen A. or Kyrie, but it seemed like for me he crossed the threshold where it's like, now, like, is it personal at this point? Like, what is it? Because now, like, even with the recent video he just came out, and now they're going back and forth on social media. It's like, hey, bro, like, I mean, address it, but the way you addressing it, it's like, I think for me, and I hate that I'm going on this rant, but I gotta do it. For me, I don't like the idea that media, and I include myself, I think we all have to include ourselves, even though on a lower scale, but if some of these players heard some of the things that we say about them, they might have issue with it. So I make it clear that even on this small platform, that if I got something to say about you, it's something that I would say to your face. So whatever come with that, and I'm down to do whatever come with that. But I think that once you get on them bright lights, sometimes some of these players get to talking too reckless. I mean, some of these media people started talking too reckless, like, Kyrie ain't willing to risk his career because you talking crazy to me, or skipping Russell Westbrook is another recent example of that. Like, you really gotta watch what you try and say, unless you really stand on those words and is ready to go throw hands about them. And like Will Smith did smack Chris Rock. Like, let's not act like this can't get somewhere once one player or one person is offended.
Yeah, or a better example, Maestro. I don't know if you remember years ago. I forget the cat's name, but the dude Jim Rome, before he kind of became
Everett.
Chris Evert. Yeah, Chris Evert and Jim Rome, got into it on live TV. Like, he put hands on Jim Rome, in front of everybody. Yeah. So yeah, it could definitely happen. My thing with the whole, Stephen A. Kyrie thing is that, and Maestro, you and I kind of talked about this, when that whole thing was starting to blossom, right? So, who was the favorite, before the season started last year? It was the Brooklyn Nets, it was the Los Angeles Lakers, and that seemed to be like everybody's cash cow, whether it was ESPN, ABC, the networks, media platforms, whoever. That seemed to be like everybody, like these two teams, they gotta meet in the finals. And Kyrie missing games, affects that, keeps that from happening because, as we all know, the Nets ended up, being the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. And like we all, unexpectedly saw, them getting bounced out. I mean, them getting swept. Let me not say bounced out, but they got swept, in the first round. The only team to get swept in these playoffs. So I think from Stephen A's standpoint, yeah, Maestro, I kind of agree. It is playing for the camera, because of the audience that he has. But at the same time, these people know Nets and Lakers in the finals, that was supposed to be like the money finals, if you get what I'm saying.
No, for sure. And the reason that part of it is where Stephen A has a good point, right? Because that James Harden and KD were trying to get a ring, right? Mm-hmm. And part of the reason that James Harden wanted out, we know now, is that the whole Kyrie situation. Mm-hmm. So that's something where you can point to Kyrie and be like, bro, what's going on? We trying to win. Everybody else here that took the shot, you didn't, right? And again, like I said, I'm not mad at Kyrie for the stance he took. Now, I don't understand it at times. Like, the reasons he gave at times didn't make sense. Because other people didn't take the shot and they came out and they said, oh, I was allergic to this, or it was against my religion. With Kyrie, he was kind of trying to be like, oh, I'm doing this for the people. It's like, did the people ask you to do that though, Kyrie? Yeah, so it's something that I can see Stephen A's point on that. Did the people ask you to do that, Kyrie? Like, did you really take that stance? Did it make sense for you to do that, or did you just hurt your team? Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, they were out in the first round. They were a 7 seed because of all the time Kyrie missed. And James Harden is probably still there if Kyrie went ahead, took the shot, and played most of the season. And we're having a whole different conversation if you have James Harden, Kyrie, and KD, and you have the Nets probably being a 1 or 2 seed instead of a 7 seed.
Right.
Things are completely different. So I can see why Stephen A would come at him on that standpoint.
Do you think the Nets are going to trade him at this point? I know there's been stories about, well, they could do a sign and trade with somebody. So now that he's signed, this 1-year deal, there's belief that it's really not over yet. But I'm of the belief that why would you walk away from Kevin Durant, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, Joe Harris when he comes back? That's a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. I mean, what do you think? You think?
What's funny? There's a All NBA guy that we didn't even mention. Ben Simmons is on that team.
Ben Simmons. Yeah, I forgot.
I was saying it all through the playoffs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we totally forget about that guy being on the team. So you have Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, and KD, along with the guys that you mentioned. Of course, I would want to run that back because you're like, that's a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
And that team, if they're playing with each other, they're playing well. Now, the big question mark is Steve Nash the guy to lead them? I think that's the big question.
Good point.
Because with Steve Nash against Ime Udoka in that first round series, he got clearly outcoached.
Yeah.
Like it was very, very.
It was bad, man.
Yeah, it was like, and you definitely could tell a difference once Boston moved on in the playoffs and they played against Milwaukee, they played against Miami, then go to State. He was like, okay, you could see the coaching differences in those other teams and what they did against Boston compared to what Brooklyn did. So the question is, I don't think the question is the players. Is Steve Nash the right guy to lead these guys? But as far as that team they have with all the names you mentioned, that's a championship quality roster. So they should run it back. And Kyrie wants to prove himself. Okay, come back this year. Give us 75 games, Kyrie. Give us the 50, 40, 90 Kyrie that is all NBA. Give us that guy for a year. We'll be willing to pay you for that 4-year contract.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, and look, I'm with you as far as I don't have any issue with what he did as far as taking the vaccine as opposed to not taking the vaccine. I think doing it for the people was a weird response. I agree with that. I mean, honestly, I just interpreted it as, hey, man, I don't want to do it, and I ain't got to do it. And that's what I take it as. And, I mean, I don't know why he tried to make it some big righteous stance. I think he overcomplicated that for certain. But the point was is I ain't doing it, and I ain't got to do it. And, so I respected him for that. Now, did it affect the team? Yeah, sure. But look, man, this team ain't looking out for you when you're not in their best interest. So why should I look out for that team when they're not in my best interest? So I had no issues with that. I concur with that. I just hope that he come back. And they spanked him for it. Clearly, they spanked him for it. 1-year deal when he's the caliber of a player that should be getting the long-term deal. So they definitely spanked him for it. Cool. I get that. Let's ball now.
And I wouldn't worry about him missing games this year. I mean, if we're talking about vaccine mandates, like that's all gone now. So it's really
until it ain't though.
Well, yeah,
it's hot outside right now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't want to just go off the deep end here. You're right. You're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. We're not over this thing yet.
That's another thing I thought about though, because it's cute now. It's cute where everything's okay and they're warmed up, but something like this happened last year where they was kind of letting go, cooling off on mandates and requirements. And then the second it started to get cold again, now all of a sudden all these mandates and people picking back up and cases have, gotten higher. So, and then come with the dumbass mandates. So, I mean, truth be told, if we are to pay attention to history, I would not be surprised at all if they put Kyrie right back in the same predicament and he got to make a decision.
Yeah, and I tell you,
now this becomes interesting.
Yeah. You make a good point about that, and I don't know if I ever expressed this opinion to you, Maestro, and Damian. You might get a kick out of this, but I always tie to them being the state of New York. I always tie them lifting the mandate to the fact that the Mets had something to say about it and the Yankees had something to say about it. And when you got those two teams in that city who are the creme de la creme of the sports in that town say something about it, then if you the state of the city, then you got to lift the mandate. If those two teams say, hey, we got a problem here because Aaron Judge got to play. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I've always tied that decision to lift the mandate in New York to, is those two teams.
I don't think that's crazy at all. Like, I was thinking that when it happened, I was like, I wonder how many players on the Yankees are vaccinated, because the Yankees, even if it was the Knicks, I think if Kyrie was on the Knicks, I think things would have changed quicker than he was on the Nets. Nets are, their stepchild.
Yep.
Right. If he was on the Knicks, I think things would have changed a little bit quicker if Madison Square Garden isn't getting filled up because now their best player or second best player isn't playing. Right. I think things would have changed quicker if it was the Knicks instead of the Nets. So I definitely agree with that kind of that theory on Mets, Yankees, those players not being vaccinated, they got to play. I definitely can see that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and as a Knicks fan myself, man, I agree with you. If they would have said something to the city or the state, they would have granted their wish.
Yeah.
So
right, man. Let's talk about some Pelican. Let's talk about some Pelican talk, man. Let's talk some Pelican talk. Is what I'm trying to say, man. So, look, man. I'll say this, man. From the outside looking in, y'all got a good nucleus, man. Y'all guys obviously you got pieces missing, and Brandon. I tell me about Brandon Ingram. And here's my thoughts on Brandon Ingram. I just lay it out there. Um, I like his energy, but I'm worried about Julius Randle syndrome. Meaning, I'm wondering if this is just a thing where he just kind of caught fire real quick, like something clicked, and then he gonna come in next year and forget any of that happened. To that you say what?
Now he's definitely a very different player than Randall. With Julius Randle, you could see parts of his game even during that good year with the Knicks, where you're like, oh, man, it's sustainable, right? With Brandon Ingram, what he thrives on is consistent, right? Getting to the mid range, free throw line extended, rising up. The fact that he's 6'9", 6'10", and can rise up over pretty much anybody who's going to guard him, and then he can get to the hole, and then he can shoot the three, and now he's become a better passer. All those things have progressed over the years. It wasn't like just a 1 year thing. Like he was the most improved player a couple of years ago. So it's been a steady build of him getting better and better. And in the playoffs, he really showed where he can go, right? Julius Randle in the playoffs the year before last, we started to see like, oh man, maybe this dude isn't it. Brandon Ingram against the Suns, he balled out against the Suns.
He did.
You know, the Suns were the better team, but it definitely wasn't on him that we lost. So I think that he's going to continue to get better and better. The big question for me is with Zion coming back, do we give him the keys to be number one option, or do we give those keys back to Zion being number one option? Because a lot of things people are forgetting about Zion. The year he was healthy, the man got 27 points a game on 61% shooting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you put him back? Do you put him at second option with Brandon Ingram at the first option? CJ McCollum's a veteran. He's not going to mind being the third option. He came there to be the third option, like when he first signed up with us or first signed on that trade to come to us.
Yeah.
So Brandon Ingram, I think, is going to continue to get better and better. I can see him blossom into a top 10, top 15 top guy. He's that talented.
Okay. I'll answer your question. Just based on, I say you roll your dice on Brandon Ingram. I don't believe Zion Williamson. I hate to be that guy. I saw what he did. He did. I don't believe his jumper though. I just don't. It just looks stupid to me. I get that he was hitting it, but it just looks stupid to me. It's hard for me to unsee the amount of dunking he was doing at Duke. It's I just don't believe him shooting yet. I just gotta see it more. I would say roll your dice with Bi. Let my man Zion do number two, and I agree with you with McCollum. Just hey man, throw it to me when you struggling. I'ma pop the shot. I'ma pop the three. Yeah. He good there. And then you got a. Oh damn! Who's your point guard now? I forgot Slim left. I forgot Slim with the Chicago. Who your point guard now?
So we had CJ playing point. So our lineup last year.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I even recognized it. Not that I've watched a lot of Pelican games, but particularly in the playoffs, I didn't realize CJ was running point or kind of going back and forth with responsibilities and all that.
Yeah. He was basically our de facto point guard once he came in. So we had him. We had Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram. We started playing with two bigs. We had, of course, Jonas Valanciunas at center. Big time dude, get you 20, 10 points. Yeah. 20 and 10 rebounds, excuse me. And then we also had Jackson Hayes, who's a center, but he was playing power forward. So we went with a kind of a different type of lineup. And that's when we really kind of took off the second half of the year. But once we got CJ McCollum, we went to that big lineup. But CJ could definitely play point. He just was playing with Dame so many years. Yeah. That his job was to score once he got the ball. Yeah. But he could handle point guard responsibilities for sure. And we did just draft the kid from Australia in the draft. I don't know much about him. It's not like I'm watching G League games all the time. But in the highlights from what I saw, I do like what I saw as far as him playing point guard and being a Lonzo type point guard, getting the ball out, somebody facilitate the offense, being a good defender. He definitely has that same type of build as Alonzo. So I can see him getting time right away. And we have this kid, Kyra Lewis, on the roster as well, towards ACL last year. who's a point guard. So we're definitely going to have points that can come in and rotate, but CJ is going to be the main point guard next year for sure.
And Larry Nance came over in a trade too, along with CJ, right?
Yeah, Larry Nance, very good bench player. I love Larry Nance. Comes in, good energy. He was really big in the playoff series against the Suns as well. He's somebody who can defend pretty much 1 through 4 or 5, depending on if the 5 is that good. If it's Joel Embiid or somebody, don't do him there. But if it's a normal 5 in today's NBA, he can guard the 5. And he's somebody who can also bring the ball up the court. So he gets a rebound, he can push it and get you in transition. I like Larry Nance a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, just a minute, Damian. So we have this Facebook live chat, as we're doing this podcast, right? So we have a habitual shit talker in the chat room right now. He goes by the name of Chief Rock of Jersey Vern. We kind of go a little bit ways back, in the podcasting game, whatever. So just a couple comments from him. New Orleans ain't shit. They won't be back next year. And then also he says Randall's not shit either, given that, just like me, he is a Knicks fan and he doesn't like Julius Randle. I don't like him as much either, but I'm not gonna go as far to say he ain't shit. But just wanted to let you know that that's how he feels about your team right now.
So what's your playoff projections then for the like, are they a playoff team this year, you think?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Because you want to have some teams that take a step back. I can see Utah taking a huge step back next year, depending on what they do in the offseason. But that team needs to get blown up. Like, there's no reason to continue this core of Gobert, Donovan Mitchell. I can see them blowing that up and taking a step back.
You saw what they did this earlier today. They brought Fizdale in to be the assistant general manager.
Yeah, I like that move. I like that move a lot.
Yeah, that's a great move.
As far as their team, there's no reason to continue that core. They've reached their top. They've done everything they can do. So I can see them blowing that up, or that team just imploding throughout the year. Like, I think that team could be out the playoffs. It'll be like an 8 seed, right?
Yeah.
So I can see us moving into the top 4 with the healthy Zion, Brandon Ingram taking another step, CJ McCollum, another year of Willie Green in that offense and that system. I can see this team being a top 4 team in the Western Conference next year.
You stand on that?
Top 4.
10 toes down. I'm 10 toes down.
Top 4.
So you saying? Here's what you're saying. You're saying Golden State, the Clippers. I think we got to put the Clippers in that top 4 now with the John Wall move. Memphis, and I'm forgetting the Phoenix. Phoenix, if they stay intact.
I think Phoenix takes a. It's funny. I thought you was gonna say Phoenix next. I think Phoenix takes a drop this next year. I think they take a drop, bro.
That's possible.
I think. I mean, they already talking about shopping DeAndre Ayton, which is crazy to me, but cool. All right, they talking about shopping DeAndre Ayton, and look, man, we talked about a trade. I don't know. We got Devin Booker, man. Like, we can't have him in this top 10 conversation of recent. We can't have him in this conversation no more. I can't see me accepting him being in this conversation anymore after that Game 7. I can't see it.
Oh, he lost some points there. He lost a lot of points with me there.
I can't see him in that. I just cannot have him in this conversation right now anymore. Like, if he do something crazy, but I could definitely see Phoenix taking a drop. I won't go as far as to say they don't make the playoffs, but I certainly don't see them in the top 4. And if I'm being even honest, if I had to make a projection right now, I see like 6, 7.
That's crazy. I
can see a drop for sure, especially if Ayton's not there. I think people are sleeping on how important he was to that team. As far as somebody who consistently get you 20 points. He's not the best defender, but the fact that he was back there definitely helped their defense. He's not somebody who's going to just shut it down like a Joel Embiid or a Giannis, but having him back there definitely helped the defense as well. And there's some people out here, I live out in Phoenix, there's some people out here who think, oh, we just put JaVale McGee in that spot and it'll be fine. McGee's a good backup. McGee's a very good backup center, but you put him in that starting spot, you start asking for the production that Ayton was giving you, you're going to be very disappointed in JaVale McGee. You're going to stay in there. That's when all the clowning comes out. You're like, JaVale McGee. You're going to start hearing all that because you're expecting too much of JaVale McGee.
So Damian,
he's somebody who definitely needs to get paid for sure.
So Damian, you're in Phoenix, so I'm sure you've heard rumors about Kevin Durant being traded to the Suns. Like I saw Tony Jefferson on Twitter a few days ago post a picture of Kevin Durant in a Phoenix Suns jersey and said that he was hearing some rumblings that this was a possibility. Have you heard those things while you're out there?
Yeah, it's talk. It's talk about the possibility and how dope it would be if Kevin Durant came out here. I definitely would be something that would be dope for the league to have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant on the same team. So I guess if they did that trade, it would have to be Ayton, probably Mikal Bridges, maybe some other picks. Maybe Cam Johnson.
One of the Cams, yeah.
About to say.
So it would take a lot to get them, but that definitely will make them top 4 for sure. Like they get Kevin Durant, they back in there. I have to slide my Pelicans back down. But you get Kevin Durant, it changes everything. So I don't know if that's a real possibility. If it's just talk. We also saw Damian Lillard put his little photograph out there on his Instagram story, trying to get a little recruit.
That'd be fire too if he went to Portland. That'd be fire.
Yeah,
it would. The thing is with Portland, who do they have to give up?
Exactly. Well, and then. I mean, let's say in a perfect situation, obviously this can't happen because it would have to have them in a trade. But let's say they kept everybody and KD went over there. Who's on that team?
That's true. Once you get past Damian and KD, I like Anthony Simons, but he's not going to get it done for you.
He definitely got some steps.
You know what they're giving up? They're giving picks up for Kevin Durant. That's the only assets that they would have because I don't see any of them other players. Like even some of the players that you guys shipped off for CJ, like Josh Hart, then just to name one, I don't see that being a possibility if that were to come for real.
Yeah, so I don't know how Portland would get him. I want Dame to have somebody like that. You've been waiting for him to have that second guy with him. Yeah. To where he could be a true championship contender. I would love that for Dame, but it seems like Dame might have to get out of Portland for that to happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
And Chief Rock of Jersey Vern in the Facebook live chat said that they also had KD in a Hawks jersey. Also, you kind of saw that floating around social media too.
Yeah, so this is a thing that like the J. Cole this is in the Drake meme. Like this is a thing right now, basically.
This is a thing.
Why I don't put no stock.
Imagining KD. No stock into it. The only reason I put stock into the Phoenix thing was only because it came from an athlete that may possibly have some inside information. Other than that, if I just see some random dude posting, KD in a Hawks jersey, like, I'm not gonna believe that one, for one bit. So
yeah. Nah, the Hawks one, I guess it would have to be John Collins. The Hawks do have a lot of assets. I will give them that. They have a lot of good players that they could put in a trade. You would put John Collins, probably Red Velvet, Herter in there. Yeah, you maybe Bogdanovich. Maybe those 3 and some draft picks you would put in there for him. But Trey Young and KD, that would be interesting, but Trey Young is such a liability on defense. Is it enough for you to really win a championship? I don't know.
And he liked to hold the ball, man. That's not a bad thing. It's his game, but he a ball. Now I don't want to say ball hog.
I was gonna say he's not James Harden like to hold the ball,
he's
but
not a ball hog. But his game, he gotta have the ball in his hand.
And he's not good off the ball. That's a big thing with him. Like when he's not on the ball, that part of his game is James Harden like him and James Harden. They off the ball, they just standing there, they chilling. This is their PTO. They off.
Right.
Like they not thinking about doing anything when they don't have the ball in their hands.
Right.
Yeah.
That team, the Hawks, has been rumored with the Spurs to make a trade for Dejounte Murray. I don't know if you saw that floating around too, but that's been kind of in heavy rotation. I don't know. I honestly don't know how that would work. You put Dejounte Murray with Trey Young. Like, I don't know how that would work. I guess Dejounte Murray would have to work off the ball in that situation.
I about to say, and I don't know him to be I don't know how good of a spot up shooter Murray is, but get ready. That's what you about to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not his game. That's not his spot up threes. It's not Dejounte Murray's game. So for me, I would look if he does go from the Spurs to another team, it'll have to be a team where he could be the point guard. That's where he starts to see you get 18 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. You need him to be well-rounded. With Trey Young, he's not going to get that opportunity to be a well-rounded player.
Yeah.
Where do the Lakers fit in all this? Westbrook accepts the option, $47 million. we're talking about teams in the West, and then there's the Lakers. Like, where do they fit in all this?
Yeah. Oh, they still have so much work to do roster wise to get better, right? I know Anthony Davis's injuries, plural, were a big part of last season's failures. But even going into last season, I had my doubts. Like, I projected them, my preseason podcast, I had the Lakers as the 6th team in the West. I thought they were going to be a disappointment. They were a disappointment to my projected disappointment. Like, that's how bad they were. And you still are depending on Anthony Davis to be your main guy and be the guy that's in his prime that's supposed to carry you when he's the most injury prone. So it's something that is like, how do you go forward from here? They shouldn't have, if you want to go back to where the Lakers really messed up, they shouldn't have gotten rid of Caruso, KCP. All those young guys they had who played defense. That's what they're missing. Like, they don't have the guys, like when they were successful in the bubble, even the year bubble, they had really good defensive teams. That's why I hated the fact that Frank Vogel got blamed for this. Frank Vogel had them guys playing defense. And then you bring in all these old dudes who can't move their feet no more, and you want to blame the coach as if he can get out there and move his feet for him. He can't do that. He can tell you where to go, but you still got to get there. So I don't like the fact that Frank Vogel was the blame guy for that. And I think they could make the playoffs, especially if LeBron and AD are healthy, because those two guys are still, AD healthy, still a top 10, 12 guy in the league. LeBron's still top 10. Two guys, you still have a great shot if they're healthy. But that's the thing. AD, will he be healthy? Can you get 65, 70 games out of Anthony Davis?
Right.
And when he was at Pelicans, I called him King Boo Boo. He didn't get like serious injuries. He never tore an ACL, broke an ankle, broke a leg. He would just get boo boos, and he'll be out for a game or two. These boo boos, but those games or two would add up. And next thing you know, he played 50 games, 55 games.
Yeah.
Like, dang, what happened? There was all these little knick-knack injuries that would come along with Anthony Davis. And this past year, they were a little more serious. So is that a sign of things to come now that those knick-knack injuries are turning into bigger, badder injuries for him going into his 30s now? That's a big question mark. So for me, I think they can make the playoffs. They could be top 8, but I could see them out in the first round for sure.
I agree, because my issue with that team last year, it sound good to bring all the old people like a Wild Hogs movie, but they ain't got no shooting. They have no shooting. They have no spot up shooters at all.
Melo, their best shooter.
Right, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, and he's a great mid-range shooter, but that's the problem. Like, that's your best shooter. That's not a good spot up. That's not a great spot up shooting option.
Yeah. No, when you start depending on Austin Reeves as like your guy, it's like, oh man, we got Reeves coming in. That's gonna be our dude right there. When you start saying that, it's problems. It's problems for sure.
Does Russell Westbrook rebound?
I could see him having a better year for sure. Because he's still a very, very good player. I don't know if he's great anymore, but he's still a very, very good player when given the opportunity to do what he does. But they got to find a way to, hopefully Darvin Ham finds a way to change the rotation to where you could have Russell Westbrook out there with the bench guys. And he could run the show and be Russ. Let him run wild. Let him be Russ. Let him get the rebound.
Exactly.
Go crazy. Do what he does. Because he's not a guy who's going to provide spacing. As great as he's been, the one thing he's never provided is space. And what does LeBron, Anthony Davis, even Melo, what do they need to work? They need space. So let Russ go out there and get some shooters around us. Keep Malik Monk. He's a good shooter. Keep him around. And you have those guys in the second unit go crazy with Russ. And I think Russ can still be an all-star caliber player.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, and I like the hire of Darvin Ham, as head coach there. I think he's going to be one of those guys that can, get the respect of that team, particularly LeBron James. I think he'll, respond to him. So, but let's, I'm going to transition for a minute here. Let's get into the NFL, and you're a Saints fan.
Yes, sir, who that?
No doubt. So, so in my opinion about the Saints and their offseason, I thought they had a great offseason. I know they lost a couple of guys. Obviously, Sean Payton's not there no more. As a Ravens fan, we took your safety, Marcus Williams, from the team. But you guys still have Lattimore still there. You re-sign Jameis Winston. You draft a kid,
Chris Olave.
Olave. I was about to mess up his last name, but you draft that kid, and it looks promising for the Saints now. There's still Tampa Bay in that NFC South to deal with, but I mean, it seems like y'all got their number in the regular season for some strange reason. But I like the Saints' moves this offseason. What's your thoughts?
I love what we did this offseason. The only thing that we lost some players. You mentioned Marcus Williams, very good safety. I think it's going to be good for your Ravens. The biggest loss, though, was Teron Armstead, left tackle.
Yeah.
Pro Bowl left tackle that went to Miami. Not mad at him. Got his money. He definitely deserved it. And now we might have a rookie there. Now, if that rookie comes in and can play right away, we're not expecting him to be a Pro Bowler, all-pro guy, but be serviceable. Don't be trash. If he comes in right away and he's serviceable, that offensive line is going to be very good. Now, if he's trash, it's going to jumble things up because now you're like, okay, do we move Ryan Ramczyk, who's the right tackle? Do we move him to the left tackle? Does he have the skill set to play left tackle? Ryan Ramczyk's a very good right tackle, one of the best in the league. But can he play left tackle? That's a whole different skill set. Usually you have your best athlete play left tackle. Teron Armstead, was an amazing, he's an amazing athlete for his size. Like the guy in the combine ran like a 4.75 at that size, which is so nuts. Like, I don't know if people understand how crazy it is for a person that size to run a 4.75. Like Keyshawn Johnson and a 4.75. Like it's absolutely nuts for a guy that size to do that. So the left tackle that we drafted, Penny, is of that same ilk. Very athletic left tackle. Used to be a tight end. So if he comes in right away and can play, this team is the sky's the limit. But I love the pick of Chris Olave. Last year, our biggest downfall last year was not having the weapons, right? So once Alvin Kamara got hurt, it was after Jameis got hurt. Alvin Kamara missed 4 straight games, and our offense could do nothing. Nothing. We had nothing at all. Like there was just no weapons. Like we was putting it together with glue and duct tape. Like our offense was struggling. And now you have Michael Thomas coming back, and people are forgetting how good Michael Thomas is. Like the last time we saw him for a full season, he broke the record for receptions in a year. People are truly forgetting how good Michael Thomas is. So Michael Thomas, Chris Olave. Now you have Marquez Callaway being your third guy. You have Deontay Harris, the speedster. Punt returner as being another option out there. Alvin Kamara come out the backfield. The weapons are there. And Jameis last year, I think, took a step forward. Had 14 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions before he got hurt. It's 5-2 as a starter. He took a big step forward. So now you add those weapons with him not making those same mistakes. And that defense is still very good. Well, we replaced Marcus Williams with Marcus May from the Jets, who's a very good safety. Of course, a lot of people don't know about him because he played for the Jets. But he's very good. You add Tyrann Mathieu, got him coming back home to New Orleans. I think he still has some left in the tank as well.
Absolutely.
With Lattimore being one of the best cornerbacks. That front four is still very, very good. The linebacking core. It's the team. I'm very excited. I guess you could tell with me rambling. I'm very excited about my Saints.
And I'm mad at y'all because y'all picked up Jarvis Landry. Y'all picked up Jarvis Landry when he was sitting out there. It felt like for about 2 months, and I'm like, "Yo, Ravens, y'all need to go get this guy because the Browns cut him and all that." And he goes to the Saints, and again, happy for Jameis, but I was so mad that the Ravens didn't make that move.
That's the crazy part. I mentioned all those weapons and didn't even mention Jarvis Landry. Like the offense is going to be crazy this year. Jameis definitely gets his chance to prove that he's a starting quarterback again. And he's still young. He's only 27. So if he proves it this year, he'll get that long-term deal. He'll be the Saints guy for the future. So I'm very excited about the Saints this year.
Now, Alvin Kamara had a off-the-field incident a while ago, and I've heard some things that the league could possibly throw a 4-game, 6-game suspension at him. You've heard anything like that?
I haven't heard anything about it. That's a little scary. I haven't heard anything about it because it seems like that's when the news comes out of nowhere at you.
Right.
And you haven't heard, anything about it.
When the news broke, it was kind of quiet. Like we all know, like he got arrested, like he turned himself in for I don't know what the charge was, but it was really like low key. Like he turned himself in, and then that was it. Like that's all we heard about the situation.
Yeah, and the fact that he did turn himself in is a good sign that he was like, okay, that's something I'm not tripping about. Incident happened in the club. From the rumors of it, he got in a fight, his girl, and somebody was disrespecting her or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it's no big deal. Hopefully, because we've had incidents before where they took the whole year. They've been taking a lot longer looking over these things to make sure they dealt the right punishment. That's why the Sean Watson thing is taking so long, because they've been making sure that, okay, we're going to have all the facts. I think what really changed is people kind of slept on his punishment. A couple years ago when Ezekiel Elliott got suspended for 6 games.
Yep.
I think that changed things because the evidence there was lacking majorly. Like there was nothing there for them to suspend this guy. But it was just like, oh, somebody said he did something wrong.
Somebody said, right.
Yeah, and it was like, really? Like, it felt like you got to really go through the process before we just start dealing out punishments. So I think it might be a process that takes long. You might not hear about it until next year because last year, Deontay Harris, our punt returner, had an incident with a drunk driving incident, which didn't get punished until the next season. So I think the same thing might happen with Alvin Kamara. They're taking longer now to make sure they get these things right, or at least as right as they can.
Yeah, that sounds crazy to me. I get it, and because I actually like Deontay Harris. I saw him. I forget one day I saw about one game I saw him about 2 years ago, and I was like, this dude is really fast, like
Crazy
on the
fast.
field fast. Yeah, like he's like with this. So yeah, so that's why he was on my radar. But I hadn't even heard nothing about the drunk driving incident. But the fact that they are gonna, I don't like I get that you want to get it right, but don't take too long. We didn't forget about the crime. Like we done moved on, and then you didn't.
Yeah.
Next year you gonna tell me about some stuff that happened 2 years ago, bruh.
Yeah.
Like
It's gotta be
I
a
get
happy
trying to get it
medium.
right. Yeah, there has to be a happy medium. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. So the Saints, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I got y'all winning that division this year. That's how I feel about it. Gronk ain't coming back. Tom Brady's the GOAT. Let me just say that. The weapons on the Saints are it's the weapons for me. Like if Kamara's healthy, if you're telling me Olave is gonna come in and contribute, Michael Thomas is healthy, Jarvis Landry is a dog. He's a dog. The defense is there. Like I think y'all gonna win a division. How you feeling about it?
I definitely can see that for sure. I think I can see Tampa Bay taking a step back. People are sleeping on the loss of Gronk, and I think it's going to affect their running game more than their passing game, honestly.
Yeah.
Because with Gronk at this stage of his career, that's what he was mostly used for. Like he would catch some big time catches here and now, but his big thing was helping out in that run game, being such a good blocker. And Cameron Brate, I like him as a tight end, but he's not Gronk as a blocker.
Not a good blocker,
right?
Yeah.
So in the running game, Tom Brady, even though he's still good, you need that running game. You need that threat of the play action for him to be successful. That's gone. You just see where the Saints are able to be successful against them is that we're able to guard their people man to man. And everything is real tight, real close.
Yeah.
So teams that can do that are going to have success against Tampa Bay. And I can see more teams doing that and having more success this year with the loss of some of the weapons that they lost this year.
And also, in respect to Byron Leftwich, Todd Bowles, I think one of the other bigger losses is Coach Bruce Arians. And, again, I think Leftwich does a great job with being the offensive coordinator and all that, but Bruce Arians has this history of, being that, being in the quarterback's ear, with the play calling and all that good stuff. And you lose him, and now Todd Bowles is your head coach now. I appreciate the fact that Bruce Arians left that open for him. We need more black coaches in the league, God knows. But I think that's something to watch when you watch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year.
Yeah, for sure. And you're going to see with Byron Leftwich how much of the play calling was influenced by Bruce Arians. Does he try to make his own blueprint and call some more things that are going to be of his ilk, or was it already in place for him to do that? But like you said, I definitely respect Bruce Arians for making sure that a black man got that job when he left.
Facts.
And you definitely need more of that. Like the NFL needs to learn from the NBA. Like the NBA, with half the coaches are black now in the NBA.
Yep.
So I think the NFL definitely needs to learn from that, because you got 75, 80% of the players being black, and only less than 20% of the coaches being black. It doesn't, it doesn't
I think 3.5 coaches are black, man.
Yeah. Man, the math ain't mathing.
Math ain't mathing. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Hey, man. But before we send you up out of here, man, I want to know, with you being the biggest Saint fan, give me your top 5 Saints players of all time.
Oh, top 5 Saints players of all time. So, of course, number 1, Drew Brees. He's got to be number 1. He changed the whole outlook of the franchise. I've said for a long time now, like the statue outside of the Superdome should be Sean Payton and Drew Brees together reading a play sheet, because those two guys together changed the whole outlook of the franchise and what you thought of the Saints. Like young people don't understand, pre Drew Brees and Sean Payton, it wasn't the proudest moment to be a Saints fan.
It's a poverty it was a poverty franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they had that one little cook up moment with Aaron Brooks and Deuce. They had that one little cook up moment.
We had our first playoff win came in 2000, and we was here from the 60s. So the fact that it took that long,
that's wild, man.
Yeah,
that's wild. I mean, you got the Lions, so I mean, it can't be that wild, but yeah.
Yeah, so Drew Brees definitely has number 1 spot for sure. Number 2, I'm gonna go with a personal favorite of mine, Joe Horn. Dude was an absolute monster in his time with the Saints, and you gotta love the fact that his phone celebration goes out in history as one of the best of all time. And he's underrated. When you go back and look at Joe Horn's stats, a lot of 1,500, 1,600 yard seasons on his resume right there. And you're like, oh, Joe Horn really was putting in some work.
Yeah,
and he was putting in work with like Aaron Brooks.
Yeah, with some quarterbacks that you wouldn't necessarily put top 10. I like Aaron Brooks, but he that's who he was doing it with.
Exactly. So I have to get on that number 5. Number 3, I'm gonna go Willie. Of all time, it's a shame that he played with us during a time where we didn't have the best results. So a lot of people forget about his name. Hall of Famer, just absolutely killed the game at number 3. At number 4, I'm gonna go with, just thinking about our history, man. I'm gonna go with Deuce McAllister.
I'm about to say, you got to put Deuce on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, he's second all time now in rushing yards. I think Mark Ingram passed him last year. But second all time in rushing yards in Saints history. You look at some of the years he had, 1,600 yards rushing, 1,500 yards rushing. And Jim Haslett ran his knees into the ground. If he would have had somebody else as coach that wasn't just first down run, second down run, 3rd and 4 shorter run, if it was somebody else who was doing more of a balanced attack at that time, he would have lasted longer. But Deuce was a monster. Still here, Chris Berman, the Deuce is Luce McAllister anytime he would break down the field. And he was a big dude, 6'2", 220.
Yeah, 6'2",
and was able to run like he was able to run. So I'll put Deuce at number 4. And then at number 5, I feel like I have to put, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna put the linebacking core from the Dome Patrol from those days.
Okay.
I'm gonna put them at number 5. It was before my time, but I feel like I had to pay respect to those guys because they, like, those years we didn't have any offense. Those years, like, that's one of the reasons we didn't win a playoff game until 2000.
I'm talking about Ricky Jackson and the other guy. I'm forgetting the other outside.
So yeah, you had Ricky Jackson, you had Jones as well. Rest in peace to him, Sam Jones.
Yes.
So you
Sam
had
Jones' guy.
Yeah. So you had that linebacking core, 4 linebackers that just dominated for years and years there, with Jim Mora as the coach back in the day. Before he was known for playoffs, before he was known for that, he was the Saints there, and we was making the playoffs but not winning at that time. We would fall short because we didn't have any offense at that time. So my top 5: Drew Brees, Joe Horn, Willie Roaf, Deuce McAllister, and then for the 5th, I'm gonna cheat and go with the linebacking core from the Dome Patrol days.
That's what's up.
I like that. I mean, I would have liked Dalton Hilliard to slide in there, but I ain't mad. I ain't mad at that. Dalton Hilliard, just because I like Dalton Hilliard, though, and not because he was, like, crazy. But he was nice, though. No, Dalton Hilliard was nice.
He was nice, for sure.
Yeah, I would have, for me, and again, from afar, and Aaron Brooks, I thought for a while throughout his career was underrated. Like, I mean, he was one of those, like, close to being an Iron Man kind of a guy. Like, he started all the games, for like a 6-7 year stretch, with the Saints before, he went on to play with the Raiders and stuff. So for me, just kind of looking on the outside looking in, I would probably have him in my top 5, Saints of all time. The Willie Roaf pick, I kind of like that. I forgot all about him.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, I like that one. That one kind of went off my radar a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. I thought about Reggie Bush for a minute there, just because he came in the same year as Breeze and Peyton, and you talked about them resurrecting the franchise, and I've always thought that Reggie Bush was a part of that. He didn't stay long.
He was a lot of hype. He was a lot of hype too, man.
He was.
Yeah,
I agree.
Was a lot of hype. He was who he was in USC. Don't get that twisted. Yeah. But when he came to the league, we just was hype waiting for him to figure it out, and he never really figured it out the way that we thought he was going to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Man, when I tell you, I thought we had the next coming Barry Sanders. Like I thought, right? Like I thought for sure we had the next great one with Reggie Bush. I was like, what? We getting Reggie? Because if you remember that draft, the night before, Houston announced they was going to take Mario Williams. So I was like, oh snap! Because I thought for sure they was going to take Reggie Bush. Mm-hmm. So when they announced this, I went crazy. I'm like, we getting Reggie? What? Mm-hmm. Like I went absolutely nuts. And like you said, he had impact. His impact was more of putting eyes on the Saints. Everybody was like, let me see what Reggie does. Let me see what he does. And then next thing you know, we took off that first year with him, but his impact was minimal. He was more of a punt returner, kick returner. He definitely had some nice highlights with us for sure.
Right.
In that Super Bowl year, he had more of a role as like the second, third running back behind Pierre Thomas. That's another one people forget about. Pierre Thomas was really good.
Yeah.
Pierre Thomas, yeah.
But Reggie was more of this franchise, we have to put eyes on them. Primetime games. Things like that. He had that type of impact.
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt. Thought he would never have a 100-yard game. I swear. I was just like, jeez Louise, this dude. They never figured it out, man. They never figured it out.
It was weird because he kind of did the same thing Ricky Williams did. Ricky Williams came to us, and we had the whole crazy draft where we traded all our picks to Washington to get Ricky Williams, and he never really took off with us. Went to Miami and went nuts.
And went crazy.
Went crazy. Yeah.
That's what I thought was going to happen with Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush went to Miami. I was like, oh, history going to repeat itself. Just go crazy.
But he was
well. He didn't go Ricky Williams crazy though.
He was so dangerous out the backfield though. Like you get him out in space, that dude was a monster.
Oh, he was for sure. And like one of the plays I remember, NFC Championship game, we're playing against Chicago. And he got out in space, and it was just him and Brian Urlacher. And when I tell you, it was 2 steps, and he was 6 yards past Brian Urlacher and it was marching to the end zone for a touchdown. Okay, this is what we could do with him. I see the potential there, but unfortunately, we just never got the fullness of Reggie Bush with the Saints.
Yeah.
What do you think it was?
I don't know. Maybe at that time he just didn't know how to use him correctly. Because you still think about that time you wanted the workhorse running back, right? The Adrian Petersons of the world, the Frank Gores of the world. Those guys were the ones that you wanted. And with him, he could run between the tackles, but you wanted him more in space. Swing routes, sweeps, have him out in space. The way we use Alvin Kamara now, we probably should have used Reggie Bush back then.
Right.
And I think he would have had a better career with us.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, because that was I don't want to say letdown is actually the appropriate word. Like it was a letdown. It was straight out a letdown. Like I mean, career wise, I hate to be that guy, but like it was a letdown. Mm-hmm. Like he was supposed to like.
I thought it was Barry Sanders. When I tell you, I was like, "You got the next Barry. We about to go off."
He was supposed to be that Hall of Famer. Yeah. And just so I'm clear, Reggie Bush is not a Hall of Famer.
I think we're all clear.
Okay. All right. I just want to be sure. I just want to be sure.
He had Hall of Fame talent.
Yeah, for sure.
But he didn't live up to that.
Yeah.
And then they took what he did in USC. Like, geez Louise.
Yeah. That's the rough part. They're gonna try to act like we didn't see that. No, we saw this man out there dominating.
We still saw it.
Yeah. Like, why are you trying to erase history? Yeah. For real.
I don't know. Hey man, plug your shows for us one more time, man.
Oh man, thank you guys again for having me. This was a lot of fun. I definitely got to get you guys on my podcast for sure. Love just talking sports with people who know their stuff and have interesting perspectives. You guys definitely have that for sure. So my podcast is called The Real Deal with Damian Adams. So if you're going to look for it on any podcast platform, it will be there. Put the full thing like a pimp named Slickback. Put The Real Deal with Damian Adams. You'll definitely find it on that podcast. I talk football, basketball, and boxing, and you'll get a little bit of everything. You'll get some laughs. You'll definitely get some deep moments. You'll have just me and my crazy takes and the way my mind goes. So you'll definitely be entertained if you subscribe to The Real Deal with Damian Adams on any podcast platform. The other show I do is called the 3rd and 3 Podcast. We do that one live every Wednesday night on Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't catch it live, it is available on all podcast platforms as well. I do that one with Jason Fearman and Nikki Jess, two great football minds. The base of that show is the NFL, but it can go everywhere. We literally talk about everything, but the base is the NFL. And right now it's ramping up. We're going to start division previews pretty soon. Next thing you know, we're going to be out there, complaining about how boring the preseason is. It's coming very, very soon. So please go ahead and subscribe to The Real Deal with Damian Adams and the 3rd and 3 Podcast. If that's too much to remember, just follow me on social media and you'll catch it. So follow me at The Real Deal, WDA. That's on all social media platforms. I'm everywhere. Like Maestro mentioned earlier, I'm putting in work. You're going to see my videos on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. You'll see reactions to different things. You'll see articles that I'm putting out. And talking about articles, I will be writing for the 3pointconversion.com. That's who I'm covering the Phoenix Mercury for. So any WNBA work will be there. Any other articles will be on 3rd3podcast.com. So I know I threw a lot at you. So just follow me at The Real Deal WDA. You'll catch all my work there.
That's what's up, man. That's dope. And Damian, this was great, man. Glad to, have you on the platform here, man. This was dope, bro. We appreciate you joining us, man. We're gonna be looking forward to what you got coming up next, man. And again, thanks so much, man. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you out there soon, man. We definitely got to do this again.
Yeah, man. We got to talk about Javonte Davis next time, man.
Definitely. Hey, you want to have some boxing talk, man? Just bring me on, man. I'm always ready to talk some boxing, bro.
That's what's up.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, man. You too. Yeah,
bro.
That's the homie right there. Damian Adams. Make sure y'all follow him on Twitter. He's got The Real Deal with Damian Adams. That's his main podcast. He's also got the 3rd and 3 podcast as a co-host. So y'all check that brother out, man. He's got some dope things coming up. Just a quick shout out in the Facebook live chat. We got BS3. Appreciate you joining the chat and all that good stuff, man. Before I close out, man, I just want to make sure you ain't got nothing else to rap about, something that happened.
Free Brittney Griner.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to close this out. Hashtag Free Brittney Griner. Let's keep the hashtag going on that point. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Appreciate everybody watching us on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, and YouTube Live. Y'all want to catch this on demand, y'all can go to our social media platforms. Google, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the podcast platforms that's out there, we're on it. Make sure y'all follow us on our social media. Don't forget the Facebook page, the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. We're on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Also, you can find us on Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2. And if you got questions or comments about the show, just hit us up on the email at barbershopsportstalk1@gmail.com. So that's it for the show. Maestro, if you got nothing else, man, glad to have you back.
Salute.
And
I'm back, man.
No doubt. And next week is huge, so y'all stay tuned for that. Y'all have a good week out there. Peace, one love. Good night, folks.
Love.